Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. This is Tom, aka Cortex Zero, aka Posthuman, aka the guy who doesn't even know where to put himself right now because of everything that's happened over the last couple of days. Where to begin? Where to begin? Alright, so I think this is how I'm going to start off. This is unscripted. Sometimes I like to do videos where I type up, a narrative and read from it just so things flow nicely. So I don't have to do jump cuts or anything in case I say something stupid that I don't want. But I'm just going to talk right from the heart and soul today. And I think by the end of the video, maybe some of you who are still on the fence about this situation may be convinced otherwise. And that's one of the goals of this particular video that you are watching right now. Before I go any further, I just want to say thank you to all the new subscribers. Thank you to the old subscribers that are here, that show up to every stream, that comment on just about every video, that always leave the likes. You guys are the best. You're like a family from a distance, and you mean the world to me, honestly. So thank you. I always like to remind you guys that I'm very grateful for the support that I receive. And thank you so much for not shutting me out and hearing me out when I talk about these kinds of things. Thank you for being open-minded, as most of you are. Thank you for not giving me a hard time when I like to discuss these things during the stream. You don't tell me, oh, talk about something else, or, oh, here we go again. Nobody does that to me, and I really appreciate it because I try to do my best to do the same for you. If there's something you guys in the chat or in the comments want to discuss, I like letting everybody have the floor when possible. So, again, thank you. All right, so where to begin with this one? Right. So the other day, I'm, again, just browsing through Reddit. I'm at the doctor's office, actually. I'm pretty sure that's where I was when I first saw everything. And this article pops up in the aliens subreddit, and I say, I'm looking at it, I'm like, oh, this looks interesting. Looks like they're going to maybe release some information about, maybe what ATIP is found, or one of these, now declassified UFO programs, these units that the government has to investigate what's actually going on in our skies. And I clicked on the article itself and saw that it was behind a paywall. Luckily, in this Reddit post, the individual who did share it ended up copying the link. I guess they paid the fee to access New York Times in full, and they placed it in that subreddit so that we could all read it for free, which is great. And as I began to read through the article, I realized that I was looking at something way more extraordinary, way more important, and way more paradigm shifting than I realized. I thought this was just going to be kind of a neat follow-up to the stuff that had been coming out since 2017, like the info about the USS Nimitz incident, the Tic Tac UFO, just all the clips that were shared by the Navy that were recently confirmed to be legitimate, genuine pieces of UFO footage by the Pentagon. This article is going to be remembered if this goes the way that it looks like it is. This article is going to go down as probably one of the most important in the history of the human race. This is not an exaggeration at all. This is not clickbait. This is serious. And understand that I had my doubts too. I needed more information to tie up a few loose ends. So luckily, I found that someone had interviewed the two journalists who wrote the article. And after watching that video and reading this article, I'm prepared to say that This is really happening. And this is not bullshit. This is for real. This is disclosure. And it's happening very slowly. But this was a bombshell. And there's more coming. Maybe even within the week. So I'm going to read some of the more important points of the article in case you haven't done that yourself already. If you want to go read the full article, I will share with you the link to the Reddit post so that you can read the whole article for yourself. I wanted to read the whole thing here, but I kind of thought that maybe just for time's sake, I would try to perhaps just skip through some of it so that we can get to the meat of the actual article. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go through the screenshots that I took the other day. I had screenshotted the main points of the article and sent it to a bunch of people that I know, personal friends of mine, family. And I basically said, hey, I've been saying this for years. Here it is. Because a few of them respectfully doubted the situation and doubted me when I'd speak about these things. And that's fine, because this is a topic that has been scrutinized since the beginning. There's been a stigma around it. Oh, you saw a UFO? Well, guess what? Now you can't be a pilot. Oh, you want to report a UFO? Well, guess what? Now you're not going to rank up in the military. Oh, you saw a UFO? Well, now your friends don't want to hang out with you because they think you're nuts. This changes everything. That's gone. Let me repeat that. The stigma around the UFO phenomenon as of 2020, as of July 2020, is gone. It's gone. It's done. It has been given credibility that it never had before. It's legitimate, as I thought it was. And now, when someone brings it up, just remember, the information that was just put forth came from the highest levels of credibility. What more could you possibly want? If a random person on the street comes up to you and says, hey man, I think I saw a flying saucer. And then an individual follows him, comes up behind him, a Marine in full uniform. Straight and narrow, clean cut, speaking elegantly, fluently, and says, excuse me, sir, I do believe that I may have seen an unidentified flying vehicle of some kind, and I cannot determine its point of origin. Who are you going to take more seriously on average? Like, for me, I'm willing to listen to just about anybody. I need as much information as I can before I can make a determination on someone's credibility, to be fair. But when someone of that stature approaches you, or approaches the public or a newspaper and says, hey, look, I saw this. This is what happened. Here's my story in full depth and detail. It turns more heads. And that's what this is. Okay, that's what this is. If you go on Google right now and search UFO Pentagon, the headlines I'm seeing, I feel like I'm in a movie. This is the beginning of something very big. Just understand that. We can feel it. Those of us who are really deep into this rabbit hole, we feel it. We felt it coming since 2017, maybe even before that. We felt things were going to be moving in a certain direction. And now it appears that that is the case. We are going in that direction. This is incredible. This is the biggest story. If this gets confirmed, especially if it gets confirmed within the next week, which would be big. It may take longer, but we will wait to find out because we don't have a choice. This will be the biggest story ever written. This is the most important piece of information that has ever been made public. Nothing is bigger. It's not even close. And and I said this on stream too, but I want to repeat this one for anybody that's watching that maybe didn't get to hear it. If I got to sit down with the universe, so to speak, and could have 3 questions answered, almost like 3 wishes, but this time it's 3 questions. These would be the 3 questions I would ask if none of them had been answered at that point. Question number 1, are we alone in the universe? With and maybe I could sneak in like a secondary question there, and if we're not, is there anybody as intelligent or more intelligent than us? Because there's a million questions that could go with that. Well, where are they? Are they visiting us? How long have they been visiting us if they have? Right? Question 2, is there a God? And question 3, what happens when we die? Those are the 3 biggest questions I could ever ask. And I'm standing here, I'm pacing back and forth in my room, realizing that one of these questions may have just gotten answered, and the confirmation is coming. You could almost get emotional about it. This is something that I've always wanted to know. I mean, my entire life. Listen, and if you can't relate to me on this subject, if this maybe isn't your strong suit, that's fine. But think of something extremely important to you, or just something you've always wanted to know, like a really, really, really big question, like those 3 that I just told you. Imagine having it answered in your lifetime. That's where we are right now. This is it, guys. This is it. This really is it. So let's get into the article, at least the important points that I've highlighted. And the full article can be found on Reddit, and I will leave a link in the description for you guys so that you can go read it in full. While retired officials involved with the effort, including Harry Reid, the former Senate Majority Leader, hope the program will seek evidence of vehicles from other worlds, its main focus is on discovering whether another nation, especially any potential adversary, is using breakout aviation technology that could threaten the United States. Senator Marco Rubio, the Florida Republican who is the acting chairman of the Senate Select Committee on Intelligence, and you guys may remember he ran against Donald Trump in the 2016 presidential election, told a CBS affiliate in Miami this month that he was primarily concerned about reports of unidentified aircraft over American military bases, and that it was in the government's interest to find out who was responsible. He expressed concerns that China or Russia or some other adversary had made some technological leap that allows them to conduct this sort of activity. Mr. Rubio said some of the unidentified aerial vehicles over U.S. bases possibly exhibited technologies not in the American arsenal. But he also noted maybe there is a completely sort of boring explanation for it, but we need to find out. In 2017, the New York Times disclosed the existence of a predecessor unit called the Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program. Defense Department officials said at the time that the unit and its $22 million in funding had lapsed after 2012. People working with the program, however, said it was still in operation in 2017 and beyond. Statements later confirmed by the Defense Department. So there's a lie right there. It's admitted at this point. This is still going, it's still active, and we know that there's a lot more to it based on whistleblowers over the years. This is way bigger than they are making it out to be in this particular section of the article. For more than a decade, the Pentagon program has been conducting classified briefings for congressional committees, aerospace company executives, and other government officials, according to interviews with program participants and unclassified briefing documents. Again, confirmed. Whistleblowers have been saying this for years. Bob Lazar said it, that private aerospace companies were being contracted by the military and the government to study materials from extraterrestrial spacecraft. Again, this section, this is confirmed. This has been confirmed. We've been hearing it for years, but this solidifies that idea that the military and the government were paying other companies to come in and to study this stuff. That's not what this particular paragraph says specifically, but it says that they are involved in this program to study what is going on. But as we move through the article, you will soon find out that it's way more specific than that. there's a lot more to it. So, moving on. Mr. Reid, the former Democratic senator from Nevada who pushed for funding the earlier UFO program when he was the majority leader, said he believed that crashes of vehicles from other worlds had occurred and that retrieved materials have been studied secretly for decades, often by aerospace companies under government contracts. Did you hear that? Mr. Reid, the former Democratic senator from Nevada, who pushed for funding the earlier UFO program when he was the majority leader, the Senate majority leader, said he believed that crashes of vehicles from other worlds had occurred and that retrieved materials had been studied secretly for decades, often by aerospace companies under government contracts. After looking into this, I came to the conclusion that there were reports, some were substantive, some not so substantive, that there were actual materials that the government and the private sector had in their possession, Mr. Reid said in an interview. Holy fucking shit. That's a bold statement. That's a bold statement. That's a huge statement. It's shocking. It's exciting. It's intriguing. It's fascinating. It's everything. This is the former Senate Majority Leader of the United States of America. This isn't Ted from down the street. Okay? This isn't Katie from up the road. This is incredible. Oh, man. I mean, this is mind-blowing stuff. This isn't, oh, hey, the government has some files on some UFO reports and they're going to release them. We're talking about crash retrievals. They have materials. They have craft. They have ships. I don't know where, because I'm sure they've been moved more than once. But this is something that people have been talking about for decades. This is incredible. Guys, this is in the New York Times. This isn't Weekly World News at the grocery store. This is the New York Times we are talking about. This is in an article from the New York Times. This is a big deal. This is a big deal. This is the biggest deal. I mean, this is this is like literally the most important article that may have ever been released, depending on where this goes from here. Either way, it's huge. I mean, this is the biggest week in the history of ufology, for sure. The study of unidentified flying objects. I mean, what the hell is going on? Why now? Why this? Something's causing this. Is there a bigger piece of news coming? Because it feels that way. It sounds that way from everything I've been able to gather. And I'm losing my mind. I need it. I need it now, man. I want to hear it. I want to know what it is. I want to know everything. And not for anything, but it's beginning to sound like the Roswell crash wasn't a weather balloon. It's really beginning to sound that way. The smoking gun. Where's the smoking gun? In 1947, that was our smoking gun. The United States Army made a statement proclaiming that they had a crashed disc and they didn't know where it came from. They knew it wasn't from China. They knew it wasn't from Russia. They knew it wasn't from Britain, Australia, Canada, Mexico, anywhere. They knew that. They knew what they had on their hands. And they even told the public that it was brought to Wright-Patterson Air Force Base for further inspection. This is in 1947. And then the next day, they changed their story and said it was a weather balloon. Bullshit. That's what that was. Total nonsense. Total nonsense. So now listen. This part of the article that I'm about to read is just as juicy as the one that I just shared with you. This really opened my eyes. Pay very close attention to what I'm about to read to you. This is a very big deal. This is a very, very big deal. Eric W. Davis, an astrophysicist who worked as a subcontractor and then a consultant for the Pentagon UFO program since 2007 said that, in some cases, examination of the materials had so far failed to determine their source and led him to conclude we couldn't make it ourselves. The constraints on discussing classified programs and the ambiguity, I'd never say that word correctly, I'm pretty sure of it, of information cited in unclassified slides from the briefings have put officials who have studied UFOs in the position of stating their views without presenting any hard evidence. Basically, what that means is that there's a lot that they want to say. There's a lot that these individuals could share. However, for certain reasons like non-disclosure agreements and things still being very classified, they can only say so much. All right, let me move on and finish this part. Mr. Davis, who now works for Aerospace Corporation, a defense contractor, said he gave a classified briefing to a Defense Department agency as recently as March about retrievals from off-world vehicles not made on this Earth. Mr. Davis said he also gave classified briefings on retrievals of unexplained objects to staff members of the Senate Armed Services Committee on October 21st, 2019, and to members of the Senate Intelligence Committee 2 days later. Did you catch all that? Did you? Please tell me you caught all that, because if you didn't, rewind this video right now and listen to that again. Off-world vehicles not made on this Earth. I'm going to put this into clear perspective for you. I'm going to make this very easy. Okay? Listen closely. This section is very telling, but I'm going to explain it to you so that you can see the bigger picture. Mr. Davis, who now works for Aerospace Corporation, a defense contractor, said he gave a classified briefing to a Defense Department agency as recently as March about retrievals from off-world vehicles not made on this Earth. Let me put it to you this way. This is what I mean by I'm going to explain this to you so that you can see the bigger picture of what this particular section means. When a defense contractor gives a classified briefing to a Defense Department agency, they're not going to sit there and play games and waste their time and bring them into a room with a bunch of leather chairs and a big table that everybody can sit around and feed them a bunch of crap. They're not going to do that. They're not going to come in there and they're not going to waste their time. They're not going to do it. This creates remarkable credibility with what is being reported. So this leads me to believe that this is tangible, credible evidence that these briefings took place, and that we need to pay attention to this. It's the biggest story in the history of our species. Like, let that sink in. Now listen, since I've been working on this video, there's been a couple updates. One in particular involves a retraction by the New York Times involving the statements made by Harry Reid. They changed a couple words around. Instead of him saying that he basically knows that there have been crash retrievals and that the technology is being reverse engineered, it now says when you go and read it that he believes it's possible that these things have occurred. So it's pressure from somewhere. Maybe some agency, an individual, group of individuals maybe told him, hey, it's not time for you to be saying all that yet. Who knows? We really don't know. I think we're going to find out pretty soon, though. This isn't over. I know this is a long video. It took me a while to get it done just because of how busy I've been with work and just everything else that I've been doing. But thank you for watching. I think this has definitely gotten the point across if you watched it from beginning to end. Make sure you check out the podcast. Check out the Patreon. Show your support if that's something you want to do. Follow me on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, if it still exists by the end of the week. Follow me on Periscope. Join the Discord. And make sure you subscribe to the channel and leave a like if you could. I appreciate you all. Love you all. We'll see you in the next video and see you in the next stream. Have a good one.